billón está en mi mente, yo sé que es mucha gente. 1 billón está en mi mente, no sé tú. Me dicen enfermera Marysol porque soy chicana, México-americana.
All right, welcome to our coaching call. The theme is love and happiness. And so to focus on love, we're going to talk about grieving. We have to talk about grieving because we go through periods in life where we have expectations and then we do not fulfill them and we beat ourselves up for them, correct? So in the doing that, and another huge example is physique, right? Let's say you're aging now and you're not the perception of you who you thought of that you enjoyed the most. Let's say you mentally froze in your 20s, but now you're in your 30s. Well, you need to change and reframe your perceptions all the time. And you need to walk into your truth, what that means for you. So reframing is so important, and you're able to revamp your mind today at this time. And so a huge part of happiness and self-love is forgiveness. So I need you to forgive that part of you that's been very hard on you, very difficult. So, and I also need you to speak your love language. Speak it onto yourself before anyone else, before you expect it from anyone else. In fact, you could reach a point to where you don't expect anything, really. You will only attract beauty, wonder, and that's because you will put it out there first. Does that make sense? So, in the wise words of you, say 10 years ago, what would the younger you tell the future version of you, and vice versa? What would the version of you now tell the version of you 10 years ago? Because different narratives have been running in different points of your life, and we need to make sure that's updated. So again, let's go back to grief and loss because those are universal human experiences. I have a client here who, for example, maybe you're still mourning the fact that the relationship with your loved one is no longer there in the physical realm. It's not tangible. Why? Because you don't see each other anymore. But they live in your memories. Does that make sense? For example, my case. I am just coming up on 1 year without my eldest brother in the physical presence. But what I can choose to remember are the good times that we had, right? And so mourning and grieving is a process. But again, we need to choose where we want to live in this process. Is it denial and bargaining, or is it acceptance, growth, and contribution? And so to channel that energy, we started a charity. So it gives us a space to come together, to talk about it, to bring memories, and to help others in the process. So now think about you. What is something that you are mourning? Is it a future version of you that you are just kind of overwhelmed with what needs to ensue for you to reach that version of you? That perhaps what you need now is clarity. And you need to think, okay, what are my next 5 moves? And just jot that down. Jot that down right now. Take the space to do so. This is your space. This is your introspection. And use it. But you need to be brutally honest with yourself. Okay, what kind of losses are you experiencing? Is it a job? Is it a relationship? Is it an expectation that you didn't fulfill? You need to forgive yourself for beating yourself up about things. So for this to really resonate, really think about this and be honest. So, and highlight the emotional impacts of your life, of these different examples of losses in your life. Because there are false expectations and disappointments that occur all around us. Okay? And you know what else influences expectations and disappointments? It's social media. False expectations and disappointments all the time. All right, so common misconceptions that lead to disappointment can happen in members of your own household, right? Your loved ones. And sometimes they don't think in the same wavelength as you do. And maybe they're trapped in their own little narrative too. So we need to show love and compassion toward everyone, empathize with everyone. But at the end of the day, continue to run on your own programming. Does that make sense? So there's a space to celebrate wins, and there's a space to hold for disappointment, but you cannot live there in the disappointment. So if you guys have the opportunity to reframe someone's mind, do that with the positive. A lot of people one up with the negative. They're like, oh, I feel tired. I woke up tired today. Well, imagine if I came in and I said, oh, me too. I only had like 4 hours of sleep. I woke up at 4, and it's a different energy, right? It totally is. And if you're resonating, give me a virtual high five, because this is exactly what happens every day. You need to make sure you're your biggest fan and you're running on all cylinders all the time, or as much as you can, okay? There are minutes and moments when everyone does feel down, right? But there's a difference between feeling down and having the clinical term of like clinical depression and anxiety, which again, they're just labels that for a medical record, people would need to have on file if they were to need a prescription or accept a prescription drug, okay? And even that is a topic in and of itself, because around this time last year, I was in school to become a prescriber. And I passed all of my advanced pharmacology classes, and I had an excellent GPA, but I just didn't believe in that anymore. I do not believe in being a hypocrite, right? I'm not going to preach something that I myself do not practice. So stand in your truth. All right, there's minutes and moments where you may feel down, but get back up right away. And so practice gratitude for what you have. All right, so this is a strategy for reframing our mindset. Write down 3 things that you're most grateful for today. And you could start with your body. If you're not in a wheelchair, if you don't have a critical or chronic illness, you're in pretty good physical shape. Okay, give gratitude to your mental health. Do you celebrate the fact that, say, you do not reminisce in the past all the time to the point where you're deemed gravely disabled? Do you have a job that you sustain to put a roof over your head, food on the table? So if you say yes to that, you are a productive member of society. Congratulations and thank you. And that is a ripple effect to everyone around you. So it's positive everywhere and everyone wins. All right, another strategy is to focus on personal growth and resilience. For those of you who work with me one-on-one, you know I call you out, and I call you out because I care. And I want to see you succeed in your competence, okay? Because people are competent, but they just don't have the confidence, and that's why they don't sell their product or service. Can I get an agreement on that? So focus on personal growth and resilience. What are you reading? Number one, if you're working out, that's a huge neuromuscular connection, and that translates into your mental health as well, that arena. And it's so important because people that work out win the battle that they have in their brains. And it happens at the gym because you may say, oh, this is my final rep or my final set. And next thing you know, what if you do another one? Imagine you do another one, you beat your expectations, and you have more of a dopamine rush, neurotransmitter rush like endorphins and oxytocin when you do go beyond your expectations. Speaking of expectations, do you set your intention for the day the night before or the morning of? Write this down or keep it in the forefront of your mind. You need to write 5 things at least, a power list of 5 things that you can physically cross off as soon as you've achieved them. And let me tell you why. The act of crossing things off increases dopamine. Similar to how coffee influences you, you could get a dopamine hit just by crossing something off. And that's a very healthy way to influence your mind and the brain cells of your neurotransmitters. So, we talked about practicing gratitude for what you have, 3 things for physique, 3 things for mental health. We talked about focusing on personal growth and resilience. We talked about working out, and now I'm going to talk about journaling. Because sometimes we are so busy in our minds that we have to externalize what it is that we feel. Because the best thing that you could do is let feelings flow. You don't ever want to have your feelings bottle up so much that they then translate into something ugly. Because trust me, it can. And that's why people who are in jail, they lose it if it's physical or violent. And it's because they didn't have a healthy outlet all of these years or however long it took for them to do what they did and vent, right? So sometimes you don't have someone that you want to disclose things to necessarily, but you could always vent and journal. And the neat thing about journaling, again, is that it's tangible and that if it's thoughts that are dirty thoughts, Tana Amen does this. Also, in the background of the health sciences, married to a psychologist, and this guy sees scans all of the time. His name is Dr. Amen, Daniel Amen, and in these brain scans, it shows if you've had areas of depression, anxiety, different areas of the brain fire for different things. So Tana, Dr. Amen's wife, says, you know what I do? I journal and I write down my dirty thoughts. So that's what I'm referring to here. If you have thoughts that you're ashamed of about yourself, that you're embarrassed, you still need to externalize it. And people get in trouble when they don't. So I want you to externalize things. And you can always grab that sheet, destroy it, and throw it away. And when you see that happen, it's the mechanics of it where really you could start anew again. A blank slate. So definitely let your feelings flow, let them out. And we're touching on a lot today. Thank you for sticking in because this time is for you. All right. And now let's cultivate self-love and self-compassion. So we touched on it briefly. I want you to speak your love language. And according to Dr. Gary Chapman, there are 5. If you don't know what it is yet, I need you to catch up by taking a quiz. It's online, the 5lovelanguages.com quiz. And it's the spark notes to the book because you can figure out what it is. But I also encourage you to get the book because it goes deeper into each of the 5 languages. So let's say your answer is you like to receive love with quality time. Okay, well, here's my question for you. How much quality time do you give yourself? Are you one to journal? Are you one to watch a movie, right? Just by yourself? Are you one to take a walk in the park? Irrespective of whether or not you have company. Are you one to be comfortable in the silence of your heart? Just sit seated to yourself. Maybe you go alone to a coffee shop. And maybe I have a client, you know who you are. We talked about this exercise because in that process, you can even meet someone new. And that's what we're all about. As humans, we thrive on love and connection and communications. And getting out of your comfort zone is certainly a way to self-love because we thrive on new experiences. Don't you love to travel? Don't you love to read, write? So do more of that. I encourage you. So that's in the quality time section. Now, if you're watching this live, you can think of something you want to do today. Think about it with me. I'm going to go walk behind my trail here. Today, just for you. What is that? Write it down, think about it, do it. Okay? Alrighty, next thing. Yeah, so I encourage you to ask questions too, share your thoughts on grieving and reframing your mindset. All right. And if you're able to type things into the chat, type them in. I'd love to see it. All right. So we're a couple minutes in. I was thinking, 30 minutes of sort of lecture and some time for Q&A. But I'm going to continue with my content here because as an author, I did write Un Beyond Mindset Health. I just feel like I have so much to pour into you guys, especially because my purpose in life is to make the doctoral program that I went through in grad school, make it public. And I didn't like the idea of just publishing something once and forgetting about it just to get a DR in front of my name. I have more pride in sharing my knowledge to the world. And so it's starting here right now with you guys off camera, and let it continue to be so, because if I can change your life, you will change the lives of someone else close to you, and the ripple effect will continue from there. Beautiful? Perfect. So yes, this is a space where I'm facilitating a discussion around your personal experiences, your challenges, and now let's talk strategies, right? For coping with these losses, as little or grand as they may be, to manage expectations as well. And so a way that you can cope also is to listen to music. Listen to music and dance. Call someone you haven't spoken with in a while and invite them to eat, right? We all need to eat anyway. And on the topic of eating, we will talk about some health tips as well. Because I know some of you are in my weight loss program, and I want to make sure I could provide you with more information to your success. So real quick about weight loss. When was the last time you had fruit to eat independent of a carbohydrate? Ask yourself that. Because that is the best way to intake your fruit. Because fruit runs on fructose, which is a different type of sugar. than carbs. Carbs is glucose. So knowing that carbs give you glucose and fruit gives you fructose, you want to try not to mix the two. So for fastest metabolism, there's someone who is a public speaker. His name's Jesse Itzler. He teaches of how he eats fruit until noon for the same reason. It's his breakfast. It's how he breaks his fast after sleeping for so long. And it's the best way for your body to absorb energy early in the day. Let's say you're fasting for the middle of the day and into the evening. It could also be one of your last meals. And a really neat snack is 2 ingredients. You ready? Banana and honey. Really good snack. Now, if for some reason bananas haven't been palatable for you, there's actually a test that you can take where it studies your microbiome, your stool, and it could produce and generate a result where it tells you, okay, for Cindy, you actually have to stay away from bananas or apple because your gut just doesn't have the enzyme to digest it properly. So if you're curious about that, send me an email and I'll reply with the link, okay? But I'll also see if I'll just mention it real quick. It's called Viome, Viome.com. All right. So someone has a question here about something I said earlier, what I would say to my future self. You have no idea. Okay. Very valid. Thank you. So let's go to that. And this is good because to address this, Patty, we actually have to look at your past. Okay, because there's things that maybe you wrote down earlier when we were talking about grief. What is something you're grieving right now? There's things that you need to externalize. Maybe you're still thinking about a partnership that didn't work out, the fact that you may, live alone. Think about your familial relationships. And I want you to forgive yourself right now. I'm holding this safe space for you to forgive yourself for your perception of whether or not you failed as a mother, because that may be a thought running through your head, right? As an example. This is your exercise. I'm just a guide. So to tell your future self something, you need to forgive even the child Patty first. Okay, and I'm happy to run through this exercise with you and everyone listening. So let's say you experience some trauma. Let's start there. You need to forgive the younger version of Patty for reacting the way that she reacted at that moment in time. And I'll tell you why. Because you didn't know any better, and because you were doing the best that you could with what you knew then and with the resources that you had at that moment in time. And I'm going to hold pauses and silences on purpose so this can sink in, because I honor whatever happened to you. I want to hold this space to respect whatever happened to you and everyone on the call, right? I may not know your specific situations, but whatever it is, a lot of you keep blaming yourself for something that happened in the past. And that's why I'm holding this space for forgiveness, to acknowledge your feelings, to validate your feelings of grief and loss, of maybe a version of you that didn't ensue, of maybe some regret that's developed because something didn't come to fruition, whatever it may be, right? Maybe you were bullied. Maybe you were called names. Maybe you were deemed incompetent. Maybe you weren't loved in your love language. Maybe you weren't hugged by someone you expected a hug from. All of these things can add up and bottle up and cause years of frustration and sadness. And so, this is a space of practical psychology and psychotherapy for you to realize these things, write it down, and then choose to destroy it. But we start with the past. We start with the child version of you. All right, so I'll start the exercise shortly, but I'm still reframing things for you because we need to touch these concepts before we dive into the practice. First is theory, but we don't do theory all day until we get blue in the face, because there's no point in doing theory without the practice. So with that understanding, I want to continue to bring up anything that you may be holding that's holding you back. So continue with this in mind. What is holding me back? What is a ruminating thought that I keep having that's preventing me to become the Patty that I want to be, the Cindy that I want to be, the Anna that I want to be, the Chrissy that I want to be? Okay? Because there's something there. If you're not the person you want to be right now, there's something there, and we're working on that today, right now. All right. So we've established that a lot of our current frustrations may root from the past, from some things that people did or didn't do, and from our perception and interpretation of things that they did or didn't do. Because we rate things on a caliber and on a scale all the time, like from 0 to 10. Was that interaction favorable? A 10 out of 10? Wow. Or was it unfavorable? Oh, this person just hates me. I probably screwed it all up. You can really exaggerate some things in your mind that only exist in your mind, that didn't actually happen. So this is a space for being realistic and for measuring expectations appropriately. Okay? Now that we have data, we could jump into the exercise. So this is what I want you to do. Maybe you're working from home and you can take this space real quick, but really use these next 5 minutes to forgive yourself. And so we're all going to close our eyes and we're going to think of the younger versions of ourselves, say at 10 years old, or whenever you can remember your earliest trauma and the stakeholders involved. But you're going to go and imagine that age, okay? And then, now I want you to think that you, the Patty you are today, the Marysol I am today, however old we are chronologically, we are going into the past to visit our younger selves. Very powerful exercise. Okay, so sit down with a straight posture, palms in the air, facing your face, seated on your lap. Okay, palms seated on your lap. And you're closing your eyes. And you're imagining the adult version of you visiting the child version of you. And you're going to have an intimate conversation with the younger you. And you're going to say, I love you. I forgive you. I love you I forgive you. Everything will be okay. And I want you to imagine that version of you is smiling right back at you. And him or her, he or she is nodding. In acceptance, in belief, in confidence, and in gratitude. And I'm holding this space. Let's hold a pause for you to do that again and really try to visualize it vividly. Down to what you're wearing. Patty, imagine yourself in a white dress, both as the adult version and as the child version. And everyone else, I invite you to do the same. You're wearing white. That pureness, that innocence, that kindness, you're keeping that, you're holding that, maintaining it, sustaining it. I love you. I forgive you. Everything will be okay. So imagine the eye contact and imagine a huge, comfortable, warm bear hug. The best you've ever experienced. Now, to physiologically trigger the same neurotransmitters as a hug, the way you could hug yourself is have your palm face your axilla and another hand right on top of your shoulder. And we're gonna hug. Deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Exhale slowly. Do it in it again for another cycle, okay? Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Now we're going to pray. It's a Hawaiian prayer. It's called the Ho'oponopono prayer. And it's 3 phrases. Actually 4. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And I thank you. And you're still in that vision. You're still in that place. You and the younger version of you wearing white. Honoring everything about you. Everything about your highest you. And you're going to say to each other, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. I thank you. Let's repeat it. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. I thank you. And I will email this prayer because it's so beautiful and you need to do it a couple times, especially if it's your first time. You need to imagine saying it in gratitude. You need to imagine saying it to give yourself permission to allow any feelings to flow. I remember the first couple times I was in tears. That's okay. It's part of the process and it's part of your healing journey. So I invite you to say it again, to say it in a paused way one last time, and in the confine of your physical space, right? Wherever you are in the world, whether it's your room, your living room, kitchen, wherever you're listening to this. And remember, you still have that younger you in front of you. And you guys are making such beautiful peace that's crucial for the formation of the next you. Because once everything is wrapped up in the past like this, nothing is holding you back. So, with that in mind, let's do the exercise again, the Ho'oponopono prayer. I'm going to type it in the chat. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. I thank you. Take a screenshot, put it on a post-it, put it in your car, put it in your office. Okay, because we go through many disappointments, griefs, losses all the time. And you don't need any grudges in your life. Because grudges only affect those who hold on to them. And this is your moment to release them. All right. So let's get back into the space. Take a deep breath. Judgment-free zone. It's just you and the younger version of you. You're giving yourself a hug. And you're saying, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And I thank you. And both of you are so moved, you are actually crying, and that's okay. That's beautiful. And I honor that part of your healing. Because maybe you never gave yourself the time to mourn and grieve. Life moves so fast sometimes that you do not pause. Well, I'm inviting you to pause. And truly, with this in mind, as a first gateway to the future you, now we could work on framing the future you. So, and everyone got the result that they needed, okay? Let me just validate that. You got the dose that you needed of love and gratitude at this point, exactly what you needed. Let's work with it. Okay, so let's say you're a teacher and what you do for a living is coach a lot of kids at a crucial point in their life. And you want to be the best role model that you can be for these kids, right? Well, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Jot things down. Let's say you are in the financial industry and you help people at such a pivotal time in their life to buy and secure funds so they could own a home. It's not just the paper pushing. You are an instrumental part of their life. And you got to believe that. Because the more fulfilled you are, the better your smile, the more upright that you walk around, the more impact that you can make in the world. And that starts with you, and then your significant other, and then your family, and then your coworkers, people at the office. You are a bright, shining light that cannot dim. You just can't let yourself. You can't let yourself dim, okay? Promise me this right now. So type in the chat, yes, if you're ready for what's next. Don't think about the how. Don't think about the how. Think about the who. The who that you will become once this is over. Perfect. Beautiful. Thank you, Patty. Yes, beautiful. Thank you, Anna. Let's do this. One more person. And if you're shy, it's okay, but this is for you. This is for you. All right, so now let's think of the future you. Write down your short-term goals. And goals are meant to be unrealistic, okay? If they scare you a little bit, good. That's normal. That's what we want. All right? So take 2 minutes, write down your short term goals. Is it a beautiful body that you look in front of the mirror completely naked and you're like, wow, that's me. I love myself. Okay? Because that's how you should walk. That's how you should talk. The love that you have for yourself, you will then reflect onto others. They will love themselves, and the world will be such a beautiful, better place. So, perfect. Let's say you want to be in the best physical shape of your life. Okay. Next thing, you want to be in the best mental shape of your life. Write that down. That's a good one. What else? I want to be an expert at forgiving myself for the future things that life is going to throw at me and maybe I won't know how to manage. And then, you know what? Forgive yourself in advance. Forgive yourself right now, ladies. Forgive yourself right now. Be like, I'm not going to let anything hold me back. I am unleashed now. I can scream, shout, dance, and I feel no judgment. I am me. I am walking in the divine me. Okay, and that's beautiful, and I honor that, and that is you. Brilliant, very good. So, and in that light, we can now begin to build meaningful connections, starting with ourselves and then with other people. So, the significance of nurturing a healthy relationship with yourself, of speaking your own love language, is that you will not feel the need for anyone else to fill your cup now. And that's a beautiful place to operate from. A place of no expectations. Why? Because you've already fulfilled yourself first. And so that's a place that you are going to be. And that's a place where you will operate from. So at this point, at this call on Friday, 8:45 a.m., the past you is officially dead. And I want you to sit with that because there's great power in acknowledging that. Congratulations, Anna. Congratulations, Patty. The past you is dead. Now we could build the future you. The future of today and the future of tomorrow. And you have to take it day by day, but with the expectations of tomorrow. Does that make sense? So you're writing down your goals. Now we need to write strategic objectives under them and a timeline to when to meet your first milestone and what that looks like. Okay, is it I want to be less irritable at work? Is it I want to respect my cues when I know I'm being flustered and I have it up to here and I need to do something before I explode? Yes, that would be a great goal to have for you to communicate with yourself, right? Like internally, like, oh, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I need to do something about it so that I could continue to show up in my best self. So, I introduced mindfulness techniques. You guys can repeat that exercise as often as you'd like. I've introduced the importance of staying present and managing your negative emotions because they will arise. But now you're equipped. You're better equipped now than the old version of you. The old version of you didn't have this call. Okay, so we're discussing the role of resilience in navigating through life's challenges. And to conclude, let's summarize a couple points that we had in this call. Let's reiterate the importance of reframing our mindset around love, self-love, love to others, and grief, the loss of expectations, loved ones, whether it's physically or emotionally. And you need to hold the space for that to achieve lasting happiness. You need to provide a space where you give yourself permission to feel everything that comes your way, and you're going to let it flow. If you are a person that wants to become the best at what you do, you need to be able to maybe have a piece of paper to jot any distractions that happen during your workday. Because once you externalize it, it's out of your brain and you could keep going. So maybe this looks like carrying a journal with you from now on to be able to externalize these things. And it could be small, but every feeling that passes, you do want to let it out so you could keep your focus on what matters, on what's in front of you, on what you're building and creating right now at this moment. And this is how we will create the future you. The you that is present and the you that is working on the future. Because we're done going back to the past for any reference, really, to get things that we don't need to pick up for tomorrow. No. We need to take it day by day. What do they say in the 12-step program for Alcoholics Anonymous? I promise to be sober just for today. Just for today. Just for today. So you will create your own, make it 10 affirmations. I am beautiful. I am loved. And if you're not used to speaking to yourself in this way, just say, I'm going to do this silly exercise just for today. And you're going to run through your list of I am statements. And tomorrow you will notice yourself more powerful than you were today. And next thing you know, this exercise isn't so silly anymore because this exercise is producing results. And you're going to fall in love with yourself every day a little more. And never again, after, maybe it'll take you a couple times, but never again will you dread waking up in the morning at whatever time your body decides to wake you up at. You're going to jump out of bed. Patty, you're going to jump out of bed. Okay, Anna, there will reach a point where you will jump out of bed. Well, you will not toss and turn, and you will say, shoot, I need to sculpt this body mentally and physically. Okay? And that's the beautiful place to operate from. And it's where all the top producers, high-level achievers, best at what they do, that's where they operate from. And you have that capacity and capability too. So a step to not doubt yourself is bring into your awareness that you are capable, you are competent, and you are loved. So with those 3 ingredients, you're good. That's an excellent place to start. Okay, so thank you for your engagement and participation. Your contribution with being here will certainly shape the future you. And I can't wait until we talk next so I could meet this next version of you in person and share that space and energy with you, just as I'm doing now, today. This week, out of the coaching calls that I had, what stood out was a woman in her mid-70s. She was also a mindset coach for a well-renowned company, one that my parents actually attended years ago. And when I say I've been on a 10-year journey, I have been on a 10-year journey because it was around that time that I myself attended one of these forums. the whole idea behind self-development, mindset coaching, this life and health initiative is to equip you with tools to continue on with your growth journey. Now, this isn't for everyone. People come to me when they're ready to come to me. I cannot force them to coach with me. That's not how it works. And so it's quite simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. It just means that the process is like a 1, 2, 3, right? You sign up, sign on, show up, and lastly, you show up for yourself, right? Because showing up here with me is just part of the journey. But deep introspection and being vulnerable with yourself and then exposing that to another person is where the work begins. Now, if that's interesting to you, send me a DM and let's work.